YouTube, and welcome to a new Unity 3D tutorial. And in this tutorial what we're going to do is make it so we can actually collect and equip the weapons. We did the collecting script last tutorial in the land series, and we're going to now make it so you can actually equip it once it's in your inventory. Now this is really simple to equip. So what we're going to do is you get your inventory, you walk up to the object and you collect it. Boom, there it is. And then when you click it, it shows all the data, wooden sword, blah blah blah, perfect. But I want two buttons to roughly appear next to the money here, saying equip, say right, and then equip, say left, so you can equip it to two separate hands, kind of like SKYRIM, Google that if you don't know what it is, style of weapon gameplay. So really easy to do. So first thing we're going to do is click play. As you can see, I've reorganised my inspector hierarchy and project simply because our game scene fits in nicely on my monitor, so I can have all three without losing any room. So what we're going to do is go to our character in our hierarchy and choose our inventory add item. And then once we're there, we'll also go back and open up our inventory GUI. Now on our class for our inventory GUI, you will see that we have the basic data what each grid needs, but we're missing on one fact. Yes, we store all the weapons in there and the items too, but the inventory can't yet determine which is an item and which is a weapon. So we need to give it some kind of justification. It's really simple to do. So what we're going to do down here is type var is underscore weapon is what I'm going to call it, and then we're going to make it a boolean. And then what we're going to do, if it's false, then it'll search the items. If it's true, then it'll search the weapons. Because apart from weapons and items, what else do you really have in an inventory? You've got pots, pans, food and stuff, which is technically items, but we can improve that in the future for food, but stuff like that. So is weapon, I'm just going to add it to here, so is weapon boolean, and then down here, right at the end, is weapon equals is. So now that we've done that, that should work perfectly. It should add to the grids, stuff like that. So what we're going to do now is go back to our inventory add item, as you can see I've already zoomed in, and here's what we did last time. So if weapon equals true, then it adds it to the actual item, otherwise it adds weapons or items. So it's really simple. So what we can do is if we come down here and copy the entire line except the desk bit here and type dot is weapon, and then we can set it to false, because we're setting it to false because it isn't currently a weapon. So if we copy it and paste it here and click true, then it'll justify whether it's a weapon or whether it's a item. So we can go back to Unity, and if we click our inventory grids here, once it loads, you'll see that we get an error. So line 48, inventory GUI, and the error is I've put IW there and is there, and it just needs to put IW there, just so that it's the same variable. It didn't understand what is was. So now as you can see, we have is weapon boolean here. So if we go and play the game, and we put our inventory on, then collect our sword, you'll see that that boolean becomes true. Boom, just like that. But if we had have collected anything else, it would have stayed false. Now this opens up great potential for what we can actually do with it. So we're going to go back to our inventory GUI here, and in our function update here, we're going to begin, in fact not here, better way. We'll do it in the on GUI here, but we'll do it in drag my window. We're doing it inside here because we want to be able to drag the thing about. So down here we'll type just a note saying equipping, and here we're going to create another button. So we'll type if GUI.button rect. So if we get the location of the money, we should easily be able to just move it across. So money name, they're all up here. So that one, we can paste it here. So 1345, so if we budge that across by say 100, that should seem suitable. So 103, that should do. In fact, 130, there we go, just a bit more. Then we can set its size, so I like 70 and 30 as a size because it works really well. And then here we'll say it's left, in fact we'll say equip left. So equip it to your left hand. And in here we can just simply put print equip to left. So that'll show a button called equip all the time, which is not what we want. We only want it to show it if we've clicked on something which is a weapon, because we can't equip items, there's no point to it. So down here we're going to type if, and now what we need to do is check if we've actually clicked on something. And the way we checked if we clicked on something is grid value. If it equals -1, then we've not clicked on anything. And by default, as you can see, it equals -1. And because it's an array, it equals 0 to however, not -1, it doesn't understand it. So if we type if grid value is more than or equal to 0, then show the button. So now it'll show if we click on anything. So as long as we've clicked on something, it'll show that button. We could test it, but we're not going to. But then what we're going to do after this is type and then we need to access our grid using, just go up here and select grids, and then we'll grids dot is weapon. So basically we're going to search grids dot is weapon at the grid value and make sure that it is a weapon, and if not, it won't show it. Really simple to do. We're going to type grids bracket grid value bracket dot is weapon, oh wrong one, weapon equals true. So basically we'll go to grids, which is all the way up here. So grids dot, well, grids bracket grid value, which will determine what we've clicked on because it changes, dot is weapon, is it a boolean? If it equals true, for weapons it will, then it'll show it. So now we can try that, and if we click it, it should print left. So we go back and you will see that it likes it. We click play. Then if we click our inventory and come across, we collect the sword. You'll see that it collects it. We click it, it shows the equip left. If we click anything else, it doesn't show it. Perfect. We could extend it out. I like the position of it, it's all good. We'll budget across a little bit while we're here as well. So 70 is a bit not well enough, so say 130, then move it across by 160. So as you can see, that works a lot better now. We click it, it equips it to our left character. So now what we actually need to do is actually make it spawn the sword to our character. But in order for it to actually do it, every time we want to use it, we need to process through the character creation. So I'm just going to do that. I'll pause it and I'll be back in a minute. Hello, so we're back. So the thing what we have to do is, so when we click the sword and we click equip, we first need to get hold of the game object. Now the easiest way to get hold of the game object is in our prefabs, because we have a sword right there. So what we could do is say, every time we click it, it goes to the resources, grabs the prefab and spawns it. That would work, so we're going to do that. But we need to give it a name, so why not the name of the actual item we've collected? So say when we collect the wooden sword, it's called on the name wooden sword. So why don't we say go to resources, go to this exact folder and grab plus this name, so it grabs the name of it. The only issue is we need to rename the prefab to whatever it's called. So we already know, if we press F2, it's called wood sword, so we go there. So we say go and spawn wood sword, but then where do we spawn it? We need to actually spawn it inside our character's main hand. So there are many ways to do this. You can use variables, you can use GameObject.find and cut it up with slashes, but the best way we are going to do it is by renaming the character's actual hands, because then all we can do is call it player L hand or player R hand, player R body, player, well, not R body, player body, player head, stuff like that, because then all we can need to type is GameObject.find player left hand, and it'll be really easy. Then we assign it, well, spawn it, make it a child, give it proper rotations, and we should spawn it. So let's try it. I'm going to keep that there while we do it. So we go back to our inventory here, and we first need to actually load it from the resources. And the place we want to do it is right here, so equip to left, enter. We'll only do the left hand for now, we'll do the right hand later. So we're going to type firstly, we're going to create a variable to store just the left hand for now. So var left hand weapon, and this will be a game object. Simple as that. And then below, we're going to type left hand weapon equals resources dot load, and before we put load all, and that loaded all the resources inside the folder we set, but we only want to load one. So you type resources dot load, then in brackets and speech marks you put your path. So we're going to put resources is the default one, then we'll say prefabs slash weapons, then that should do. So prefabs slash weapons plus, in fact we'll put slash, then put plus, then we put grids. So just like we did up here, grids, grid value, dot name, then we end it with a bracket, and then after, unlike the other one where you put a comma and for it, after you put the bracket, we put as, and then how do you want it to come back, or how do you want to grab it as a game object. That's called casting. I'm not going to go into it yet, but in the future we'll have a look. But that should go into the resources, go to this folder by that name, and grab it as a game object. So now that that's done, we can go below it, and we actually need to spawn this item now, but we also need to grab the player's left hand. So we can type up here var left hand, and then we can put equals, well, we'll say it's a game object or transform. We're going to make it a transform simply because when we use it to spawn the object, all we're getting is its position and making it a parent of it. So we're going to use transform because then it saves us having to put game object dot transform dot whatever we want. We can just put game object dot position or whatever. So game object equals game object dot find player left hand dot transform, and that will return it as a transform which we can store in there. Now the last stage is to actually spawn whatever we need. So we type var spawn weapon, but we'll make this left weapon because then we can have a right weapon as well. And this will equal to instantiate, and then we want to spawn the left hand weapon at the left hand dot position, and then by quaternion dot identity, which spawns it at what position we saved in the prefab. So the only things we've got to make changes so far is to create the prefabs folder, then create the player's left hand, and that should spawn it. It won't do anything with it, we won't be able to use it, we won't be able to activate anything, but it should spawn it really well. So let's go and try it. So we save, and we need to unplay it, so we have to redo that after. But we click unplay, and now we need to move our prefabs folder into the resources folder, which we've already got. Really simple to do. It's probably a good idea not to move everything, like all your models, your scripts, your sounds, everything into your prefab resources folder. Otherwise, because it loads, the resources folder loads everything as soon as the game starts. So if you're loading everything, every single thing, then you'll not work, but it makes it easier to get things out of it. Prefabs are just small little objects, don't take up much. Icons don't take up much, but big heavy 3D models will take up a lot, so you don't need to. Plus you don't really spawn models like that. So it'll go into prefabs, resources, prefabs, weapons, and it'll grab the wooden sword, hopefully. So now we need to go back to our player. So if we find, we need to rename both of these. So player left hand will be exactly what we called it, player left hand, and we also need to rename it on the male, like so. So we find the male, and we'll rename the player left hand, just like that. So they'll be called the same, but it won't spawn anything in the character creation business. As soon as we spawn it, it should be still called player left hand because we didn't get rid of it. So we've done that. Only one thing what's left is to actually move it into the left hand as a child. So we're going to type spawn left weapon dot transform dot parent, and then we type equals left hand and just like that, because left hand's a transform already. Spawn left weapon is technically a transform, but because we set it to an instantiate, it kind of messes it up, so I'm not going to risk it. But if we do that, it should spawn it into our left hand and it should work all good. So I'll go through this position and get back to you once we're there. So we load it, and you see first thing we get is an error on female text shot, which we'll look at later. So we go up, put our inventory on, and we'll go up and collect this weapon here. And you'll see that it throws another error. We've got 2 errors now, and these errors are okay, but kind. So the reason they're throwing these errors here is because if we click on, say, the female text shot 59, it comes down and it says here var go to the player inventory grids.length. That's all okay, it assigns the player grids, but it's in function start, so why is it not working? The reason is when we actually load our game, we use a script as soon as the game loads to change our character's name to character, then change the everything. We basically change it all, but it's conflicting with this and performing it at the same time, which is not what we want. So the easiest way to fix this would be to assign this ourselves. So what we're going to do is get rid of this line here, and we're going to delete it, and we're going to come up and make player inventory a normal one, just like that. So we can come back to our other scene, level 1, and we're going to assign our NPCs female text shot entity, then their player inventory to our character, just like that. So that'll assign that one. But the other error we have is on collisions 87. It's the exact same error. So 87, where is it? Right here. Come down. It's trying to add new item, but it can't find it, simply because of that. So we get rid of this one, and we'll assign it manually because it's causing a little bit of bother. So character, we come back to collisions, drag this on too. So we're on, you see we've got no errors, so we go up and collect the sword with our inventory on, and collect. We click it, you can see equip left, it works fine, but yet if we click it, it comes up with an error saying the prefab you want to instantiate is null. Well, that's not very good what we want, so we best have a look where that's gone wrong. So, because this video is getting quite long, to save time, I did it, and all I did was went into our script and pasted this line, print prefab / weapons plus the name of the item we added. Easy enough. And then it returned this one here, prefabs weapons wood space sword, whereas this one is wood _ sword. So somewhere it's storing it as space sword, which is not what we need. But easy way to fix it, we rename our prefab like that, and then that should officially work. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, just before we start, I caught a VAS just before I clicked record again. Caught it, it's not going to be happening video. So I spawned it and it works, and the reason I'm not showing you it this clip is because it freaks out and you see your character twirling and bouncing. I'll probably show you at the end of the video, but that's not what we need. We need him to be still. So easiest way to do it is because it's doing it, is because it has a character controller which has a collider inside it, and it doesn't like it, so it bounces, and that's not what we need. So we're going to go to handle and remove the character controller, box collider, and we're going to go to the blade and make it a trigger, and then that should stop all errors. Next clip you see should be of the character. So we go up and we collect the sword, and you see that it's got it. We click it and we click equip left. As you can see, the character now holding a sword. We go to 3 and click attack. Okay, that's slowed down. Click 4. As you can see, she attacks with it. Obviously, in the future we've got to add more improvements, but this video's getting quite long. But it works very well. And the next clip after this you'll see is the character bouncing around, simply because it's kind of funny. But yeah, so next tutorial I think we'll probably sort out the rotation, make it face the right way, stuff like that. Second tutorial, well, probably next tutorial as well, we'll also make it so you can equip to your right, so you can dual swords. We've got a lot of errors because if we keep that and click right and we click it at the moment, it'll just add it to your right as well. But yeah, I'll see you next time, and here is the character bouncing around. I'm currently pushing forwards. Nothing's happening.